welcome back. We'll see if it will focus for us. We are going to be looking at negative exponents. So you've seen negative exponents when we looked at scientific notation, when you were doing some 8th grade math last year maybe. So a negative exponent is any non-zero number. So any non-zero number, and it's raised to the 0 power. So what that's going to look like is like this example down here, a to the 0. Okay, it's going to equal 1. If you have 0 as your exponent, it's going to equal 1. Okay, and then for example, so they have negative 0.5 raised to the 0 exponent, and our answer is going to be 1. You can type this into your calculator, make sure I'm telling you the truth, it will equal 1. Okay, any non-zero number raised to a negative power, if it's a negative power, is equal to the reciprocal of the number raised to the opposite power. All that means is that we are going to have to try and make it to be a positive exponent by in this reciprocal, meaning we're going to flip-flop it. Okay, so if it was 6 to the negative third, like you see for this example, this reciprocal, all that means is that we are going to put it now on the denominator, and we're going to change it to a positive. Okay, that's all that this does, is it flips it down to the denominator, changes it to a positive. So we have two properties. The first one we kind of talked about, and it's called the 0 exponent. So anytime you have a 0 exponent, like on our last notes, we had x to the 0y. X to the 0 would have been 1. All right? And our next property is the negative exponent property. Negative exponent, and there's not a lot of room. And try and fit in the word property. Alright, so this one, we talked about this. If you have a negative exponent, it goes here. If you started with a negative exponent in the denominator, now it comes up into the numerator and it's a positive. So it works just the opposite of this. If you start with a negative on your denominator, it comes up to be on the numerator and it is positive. Alright, our last little sentence in the simplified form, because remember we're just simplifying all of these. The simplified form of an expression containing negative exponents must have that positive when we get done with it. It must be positive exponents when we're done. Alright, so I'll give you a second. If you need to, remember, just pause the video, rewind when you need it. Alright, we have two examples, or one example, sorry, if it will focus. Oh, not going to focus. Let's see. There it goes. Alright, so just like what we did in our last notes, this 4 over 16 will simplify. Okay, but we will get to that in a little bit. Let's separate everything from themselves. So 4 over 16, we're going to separate our a's. Our a was a negative 3 a over a squared. Our b's were b to the 6th over b to the 6th. And our c was 1 over c to the negative 5th. We have to put a 1 up here because there is no c on our numerator. I'm in a bad day focusing. Okay, so work with this. We're going to simplify. 4/16 is going to be 1/4. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to rewrite our a's. So we can rewrite our a's to be negative 3 minus 2. Remember, we're going to subtract. B is going to be 6 minus 6. And C, we're going to go ahead and use the property from right up here that you wrote. And C is going to become a positive exponent. So it's going to be C to the 5th power. So let's see if it will focus back again. Maybe it's not having a good morning. So let me see if I move my paper, it will refocus. There it goes. Alright, okay, so pause, write that down because I know most of it was blurry. So now we get to do our subtraction. So leave your 1/4 where it is. Negative 3 minus 2 will give you a to the negative 5. We'll deal with that in a second. 6 minus 6 for b will give you 0. And we'll also look at that. And then our c to the 5th power, we'll leave it as so. Alright, so we said right up here, if we have a negative exponent, we have to change it to a positive. So we're going to say 1/4, and now we have 1 over a to the 5th. Our 5 becomes a positive when we move it to our denominator. B to the 0 power is just 1. And then we're left with c to the 5th. Okay. Alright, so let's clean this up. Let's make it look nice. C to the 5th is our numerator. Okay. It will multiply by this 1 here, and we don't have to write that 1. And 4 is our denominator, and this a to the 5th, remember we had to move it to the denominator, so a to the 5th. Okay, and then this b was 1, so we don't have that anymore. So our answer is c to the 5th over 4a to the 5th. Okay, let's do a couple of exercises. Remember, you can pause as you need it. You can plug all of this into your calculator and it will work it for you, but remember you could also say 2. You have an exponent of 2 minus a negative 3. So if you plug that in your calculator, you get 2 to the 5th power, and 2 to the 5th power is 32. Alright, so let's look at this one. This has an m, an exponent of 1, so m, 1 minus negative 4. And m will give you 5. Alright, same thing for this. P, we have p negative 8 minus 3. We get p to the negative 11. Now, we can't leave it as this. We have to make it be a positive exponent, so I'm going to flip it down to my denominator. I want to leave it as 1 over p to the 11th. That is one of our rules that we just talked about. We can only leave it as a positive exponent. Alright, take a look at number 4. We have b, negative 4 minus negative 5. B would be 1 exponent, because negative 4 minus a negative 5 is 1. You can leave it as this. You could leave it as b. Either one is fine. Remember, it's understood that we have a 1 for our exponent when you don't have one. So, take a look at number 5. Do you notice that 0 in that exponent? That 0 tells us we don't have to do any of this numerator. That numerator is now 1. And now we are going to rewrite our denominator for w negative 1 y squared. Okay. We are not done. We need to simplify this w to the negative 1. We need to flip this up to our top. So we have w. And you can leave it as a 1 if you want to, but it's going to be 4y squared. Okay, so you will see it written as this. You'll also see it without that 1. You'll have y squared, 4y squared. And that's all for that one. This 0 takes out a lot of the hard work. The whole thing could be multiplied by 0. Alright, the last problem. Work that last problem. Try and work it on your own. And then come back and see if you did it correctly. Go ahead and pause. Alright, welcome back. We're going to go ahead and solve this one. I'm going to distribute this 2 to each of the terms on the top. So 2 times 2 is a to the 4th. 3 times 2 is b to the 6th. Okay? And then I'm going to do the same thing for this negative 2. I'm going to distribute them. So a to the negative 2, b to the negative 2. Alright, and then now I'm just going to subtract. So I get a, so 4 minus a negative 2, and b is 6 minus a negative 2. 4 minus a negative 2, you get a to the 6th. 6 minus negative 2 would be 8, b to the 8th. Did you solve it correctly?